on this Zoom session this afternoon, this webinar, which is being jointly hosted by both Work Avenue and the JVN, the Jewish Volunteering Network. Let me first of all do some introductions to you and some general protocols. In fact, let's start with the protocols first. I think most of you know what the general Zoom protocols are. If you're not on mute, I would ask you to keep yourself on mute. That means there's going to be less interference for those people who are actually speaking at any one time. If you have questions, do please use the chat facility, and then every so often we will break and we will just dip into the questions. So very, very happy to take all sorts of questions as you go, and then we'll answer them as we see them in the chat and as we come to a convenient moment. The other point I should make clear is that I will be recording this session because it's nice to have it available if people want to review the session afterwards. It will be available in various locations on Work Avenue's website. It will also be available on Work Avenue's YouTube channel, and I'm also pretty sure it'll be available via the Jewish Volunteering Network, via JVN as well. So plenty of places for each of you to find the webinar after the session has actually finished on from this afternoon. Let me introduce myself to you first of all. My name is Emma May. My official job title is Director of Operations and Employment for Work Avenue. So what that means basically is that I'm responsible for every service intervention that we offer our clients who are looking for work through Work Avenue. So we help with all sorts of interventions, from the CV to job placement, interviewing, networking, various iterations like that. And of course, we've added this during the lockdown, this series of webinars, one every week, to assist people, a light touch approach to finding out and learning a little bit extra to narrow the odds ever further in their favour as a job seeker. I'm going to hand over to my friend and my colleague, Nikki Goldman, who will introduce herself and her organisation too.
Hello everybody, good afternoon. Lovely to see you on this bright sunny day. I hope it's sunny where you are too. I'm Nikki Goldman. I'm the Chief Exec of JVN, the Jewish Volunteering Network. And JVN connects volunteers to volunteering opportunities in charities, both in the Jewish community and in the wider charitable sector. And we're delighted to be working with our friends and colleagues, Emma at Work Avenue on this webinar. I'd also like to introduce two of my colleagues, Joshua Kleiman and Leslie Gordon, if you both want to give a wave, who'll be joining us this afternoon. Thank you, Emma. Back to you.
Okay, I also am joined by colleagues this afternoon. Some of you may see somebody called Melanie Pearl on the screen. She gave a wave there. I don't know whether that means you'll see her or not. It's not a sound, but she did give a wave, and she's got also a big beaming smile. Melanie is one of our employment advisors, hugely experienced, and she's also a qualified HR professional as well. So basically, what I have to tell you this afternoon is that we have the top team from JVN and Work Avenue here to share our thoughts and our perspectives on a particular aspect of almost the perfect coalescence of how volunteering and employment come together, which is why we find ourselves and are so happy to be working together on this webinar this afternoon. Finding work is not easy. Work doesn't come to any of us. Whenever we're looking for a job, whether we are looking for the first time or whether we find ourselves unexpectedly in the position where we have to find a job against our will, it won't come to us. We have to do whatever we can do, whatever it takes to reach out, to energize our job search and take a whole range of different interventions to make employment more likely than not, step by step by step of the way. We wanted to run this particular webinar because we know that volunteering, as well as being a fantastic thing to do, because it is a fantastic thing to do, period, is also a really, really fantastic thing to do to put yourself in the pathway of getting closer to finding the work you're looking for. So it was almost like, I don't want to call it the perfect storm, but the perfect sunshine, actually, of coming together, you know, working with all the best that JVN have to offer and the best that Work Avenue have to offer to make things more likely to happen than not. And whilst neither us nor our colleagues at JVN can say to you with certainty, by following this webinar, you will find your next job. I only wish we could say that. It would be a marvellous world if we could give those sorts of guarantees. What we can say to you is listen up, think about what we're talking about this afternoon, and what we can certainly do is hopefully narrow the odds a little bit in your favour to make it more likely that you will get closer to finding the sort of job you're after. So what I'm going to do in the first instance is hand over to Nikki, who's going to take us through some top tips. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to share my screen. So I'm hoping that you can see.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Super. Nikki,
we can. Thank you very much, Emma. And hello, everybody, again. As Emma said, there are many reasons why people volunteer. Volunteering is a really good thing to do, both for what you give to a charity and for what you get back yourself. There are many reasons. People want to make a difference. They maybe have social reasons for volunteering. They want to boost their confidence. But one of the reasons right now why people do volunteer is with the aim of getting a job as a result. So as Emma said, we put together some top tips, which we'd be interested to know if what you think about. I'm sure many of you have volunteered in the past, and so you can relate to some of this. And so let's go through it. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. So the first thing to do, which is really important, is about choosing a charity you can identify with or that you believe in. Because I really believe that if you're going to give something of yourself to an organization, you have to believe in what they do, because you need a reason to get up in the morning and do, whether it's online or in person, whatever you're going to do. So that's really important. And the secondary reason is, if the opportunity for work arises, you want to be somewhere where you want to work. So that's why it's absolutely critical. And we also believe in volunteer management that volunteering should be taken as seriously as paid employment. So many of the charities, if not all of the charities, should have a framework for volunteer management in place, and therefore the application process will be a serious process in which you actually apply for the volunteering role in the same way that you apply for a job. Second thing is about identifying your strengths and skills that you can share. That's absolutely important. I really believe that if you bring your skills, experience, knowledge to your volunteering role in the same way that you would bring to a job, that's going to benefit you, and it's going to benefit you, the organization as well. So that's really important, to actually know what those strengths and skills are that you can share. And also, but also listing the skills you'd like to acquire or improve. So we had a volunteer come to JVM because, as well as connecting volunteers to volunteering opportunities, we have our own volunteers as well, who are very much a part of our team. And somebody came along last year and said that she would very much like to increase her fundraising skills. And we just happened to need somebody to help put our brochure together. And so it was a perfect situation that she identified the skills she wanted to acquire, and we identified and we knew what we needed. So it was perfect. And then check to see if the role that suits you exists at your chosen charity. And then if not, to be in touch with them. I think very much the personal touch. If somebody who is in volunteer management, or who's the management of a department in the particular charity, can see you as an individual, I think that's really important, to have that personal connection. And then at interview, to let them know you're keen to do this as part of your search for a job. The same person I'm talking about, our volunteer, was very clear and upfront with us at the beginning that that's what she wanted to do. And we had total total respect for the fact that she was using the volunteering opportunity as a route to paid employment. And of course, if you are using it that way as well, maybe you bring something even more to that role. So tell them about all the skills you're offering, what you'd like to learn, and you will be asked what you want from the role. And I think the expectation setting is the most important thing. If everybody has their expectations clear, both the charity and the volunteer, then it's going to be a much better conversation and a much better arrangement in the end. Emma, could we have the next slide, please?
Sure.
So some suggestions: to ask if you can do a taster session and whether there's a trial period, because that's important too in this role, to make sure that, that you're really happy with what you're committing to. And once you've started, to monitor your goals. And this is all part of the volunteer management. So you will have a line manager, a contact at the organisation. So to work with them to make sure that you're achieving what you want to achieve out of this volunteering role. And then it's about regularly checking in about the organisation, whether they have any jobs coming up. So that's up to you to know that. There are some of the larger charities where they will circulate a jobs board. And I imagine, although actually I don't know whether they circulate it to volunteers or not. I'll have to find that out. But certainly that's something you could be asked to be put on the list for if you're not automatically circulated. And then use the person you have the contact with at the organisation, whether it's your line manager or your volunteering person, to have a chat with them to see what they think about whether it would be good for you to apply for that role. But at the same time, to keep abreast of other organisations and companies to see if the jobs that are coming up and around have a need for any of the skills that you've acquired or you've honed in your volunteering opportunity. Because of course, skills are transferable, and that's a really important point. And the other piece, of course, is social media, to keep an eye out. There are lots and lots of jobs advertised today on social media. But I would say that volunteering is something you should enjoy and feel good about. That's part of it. We volunteer and we get something out of it. And too, in Hebrew, the Hebrew word for volunteer is lehitnadev, which means to give, but also lehit, the reflexive bit of that word, is you get back yourself as well. So it's very much about what you give, but also what you get. And then I would also say, as we would say, that the experience you've gained can go right to the top of your CV to close that skills gap. Because I think increasingly employers do look at volunteering because you've committed to do it yourself. So from that perspective, it's equally important to other employment roles that you've had. Maybe not equally important, maybe Emma might disagree with me on that, but it's absolutely critical to have volunteering on your CV. I think particularly at this time, because in this pandemic, volunteering has really been the silver lining that has appeared through the dark clouds. And on the next page, if you wouldn't mind, Emma, just turning to the next page. These are our contact details for you to be in touch with us afterwards. And we will be circulating this to you all anyway, so you can take it away. Okay, back to you, Emma.
I'm going to stop the screen share now, bring back some real people. I hope you can all see us there. Now, I've had a very polite and courteous request from one of my colleagues asking if people wouldn't mind, if they're happy to put their full name on their profile. It'd be a lot easier for us to see. So if you don't mind doing that and you haven't got your full name, that would be much appreciated. Thank you. Before we move on to the next part of what we're going to talk about, we've been asked a question on the chat about which social media sites do you recommend other than LinkedIn? Now that's a question that somebody's asked. Do you mean for volunteering or do you mean for employment, or what is behind the question? If so you could just qualify that on the chat, please. That's from Michael.
Hi, it's Michael here. I'm
Hello, Michael.
just referring to the point that Nikki made about finding opportunities, and she mentioned social media, and I just wondered which parts of social media she was suggesting that we would look at, other than LinkedIn, which obviously is the obvious one that everyone goes to.
So Emma can reply in terms of jobs, although there are a number of Facebook groups which do advertise jobs. But volunteering roles, well, very much on JVN's website, the idea of JVN is that you see the whole range of volunteering opportunities, but you could go to individual organisations' websites if you know where you want to volunteer. Emma, in terms of jobs?
Well, it's a whole, I mean, it's a massive field. I mean, LinkedIn is, of all the sort of the digital media, social media sites, LinkedIn is the acknowledged leader for jobs. But as you said, Nikki, there are plenty of Facebook groups for jobs out there. So if you go onto Facebook and think about the sort of work you want, and just type into the search field various various keywords, you will come up with all sorts of groups that could be interesting. I would say from a jobs perspective, those are the main ones, but Twitter can be used for job search, interestingly. A lot of organizations put things out on Twitter. Interestingly, I would say Instagram is also being used. We certainly post a lot on Instagram, that's for sure. And I don't think we're alone in that as an organisation. It very much depends. It's very hard to ask a blanket question because normally we would discuss with a client sort of what they're looking for, how and what they're trying to reach, and then think about what would be the best media to actually reach that particular point. But I think the general answer to the general question is LinkedIn is the best, Facebook is also good, all the standard ones, nothing too oblique. The whole point about a social media message is that people put it out because they want it to reach people. So nothing is particularly obscure, because that doesn't answer the point.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. Now, I'm just, someone else has put for volunteering. Yes, Jilly has posted on our chat that Reach Volunteering is a very good site. It can be a good site for volunteering. I'm sure you're well aware of it, Nikki. But it's a good, it's quite a good site. Obviously, it extends well. It's not a Jewish community site, but it's it has a lot of very different opportunities. As ever, we would say it's horses for courses. It all depends upon what you're looking for, how you're looking for it, and that will dictate where you're going to find it. One size in general may fit all, but very specifically, you need to think a little bit more critically about it. Now, the next part of our session this afternoon is a slightly odd one for me. I mentioned at the start of our webinar this afternoon that this was the latest in a series of webinars that Work Avenue have hosted about a whole raft of issues that relate to employability, finding your next job, job seeking in the lockdown, etc., etc. I've hosted just about all of them. That seems to be the job that I've taken on in Work Avenue. But I'm actually about to become the subject of the next part of this webinar, because what we're talking about, I'm going to be a case study this afternoon, talking about my own journey. Normally I'm very clever and able to deflect all the attention off me onto all our other excellent presenters and people with expert knowledge. But I'm actually going to be the subject today because I actually have volunteered my way into employment. So who better to describe my journey, to tell you about what I did, how I did it, what went into my thinking. So I'm actually going to talk you through my own personal journey. So I'm going to start. Nikki's going to try and keep me in order if I start straying off the subject and going into one. But let me tell you what happened to me. Because I feel that my situation was the same as everyone else's, no different. And in 2007, so that was quite a long time ago now, but in 2007, I found myself out of a job. And the reason I found myself out of a job is because the company that I worked for at the time had been acquired by an American company. And I found they were squeezing jobs, looking to lose people. My job at that time hadn't been specifically made redundant. I did feel it may have been on the cards, but it hadn't happened yet. I didn't want to work for a bunch of Americans. So huge apologies if anyone out in this, in my audience of 48 people this afternoon is American or has American family, but I just didn't want to work for an American company. And a few issues happened and I found myself looking for my next job. It was difficult for me. I didn't know which way to turn. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a little bit lost actually. And it took a little bit of time for me to gather my thoughts, to breathe. And I'm sure this is a situation that many of you have found yourself in, like, you know, almost like a rabbit in the headlights, not quite knowing which way to turn, what to do, knowing that you've got to do something, but finding yourself emotionally exhausted from the process of finding yourself not in work anymore, terrified to think how the next step is going to be. And that level of fear and inertia just makes you think, I don't know what to do next. Coupled with all the sort of the psychological issues that go with that, about where you fit in the world, what you want to do, how to move on to the next thing. And that is exactly how I found myself, which is a long way from where I am today, actually, a long way, as you can tell. After all the sort of the lows, and I did go into a low, and I think, you know, we have to expect and understand that we will go through a range of emotions when we're seeking work and find ourselves in a position of seeking work. So don't give yourself too hard a time. Allow yourself, I wouldn't necessarily say indulge yourself, but certainly allow yourself to go through the emotions that the situation takes you to. But at the same time, allow yourself the opportunity to gather your thoughts and think about the key skills and experiences that you've gained from the roles you've had and qualifications and where you've come from, and think about what you want to do next. Now, I believe there is an absolute rule in the world of job seeking and volunteering, actually the same, which says we love what we're good at and we're good at what we love. So think about those things. Try and make yourself think about what it is that makes you the best version of yourself. Don't try and be someone else. We're never so successful when we try and shoehorn ourselves into a role, into an environment where we just can't be ourselves. But when we're in a role where we are able to reach our potential and thrive because we are doing what we love, which means, as Nikki said in her top tips, and therefore doing what we're good at because we're good at what we love and we love what we're good at, that's going to be the best way for each of us to be able to move forward. Now, at the time, I'd heard about an organisation called Resource, which some of you may also have heard of. Resource is an organisation, they're a fabulous organisation. They do similar to what we do at Work Avenue. I hadn't heard of Work. In fact, Work Avenue didn't exist at the time. It was called something else. It had a different name. But I approached Resource because I thought with my combination of skills, experiences and qualifications, I personally could make a difference in that organisation. My background was in HR management and in a field called psychometric assessment, which is all about personality profiling and skills testing and that kind of thing. And I figured that because Resource was an organisation that helped people into work, my background in HR and psychometric profiling would be quite useful to them. I didn't know that for certain, but that's what I thought. So what I was doing was that I was not only approaching them to volunteer, but I was also suggesting to them how I thought I might be helpful. I was laying out my stall in terms of my skills and my approach to them. Now, you have to do this as best as you can, using whatever intelligence you can. So think about what the organisation might require and think about how your skills, experiences and qualifications might meet that opportunity. I started volunteering in that organisation. And I was a volunteer. I started off volunteering one morning a week. I became a little bit more involved. I volunteered 2 mornings a week. I became a little bit more involved. I started sitting on 1 or 2 committees there. I became a little more involved. I became chairman of the committee. And I'm condensing what happened over the course of time, but that's what you do. You have to think in terms of what you're going to give to an organization, exactly as Nikki said. And in so giving, so we take. We take opportunity, we take experience, we take engagement, we take involvement, we take networking. We take a sense of the fact that actually by giving, we're taking because we feel good about what we're doing. And we're learning. And exactly as Nikki said, once you have a volunteering opportunity, you can certainly add it to your CV. In fact, we would say, as Nikki said, you know, specifically in the lockdown, add it to your CV, because it's absolutely appropriate that you on your CV showcase all relevant skills and experiences. And of course, that's what you're doing when you're volunteering. Now, this presupposes that you can think through for yourself the sort of environment that you would like to volunteer in, that where you are going to A, make a difference, and B, add to your general employment journey. But if you can't, talk to someone who can help you. Talk to the guys at JVN, talk to us. We can all help you work out what it is you would like to do and how it is you'd like to do it. Because there's something out there for everyone, that much is sure. Now, that wasn't the only volunteering I did. I also, a couple of years later, whilst I was doing this, I also applied to become something completely different, actually. I also applied to become a magistrate. Some of you may know a little bit about the magistracy. It's basically the lowest layer of judicial appointment in this country and sees cases in the criminal courts. But it's very much a voluntary position. So I figured that I was serving my community through JVN, and I was serving my society at large by being a magistrate. And to this day, I'm still a magistrate, actually. You know, both of them have upskilled me in ways that I couldn't have known possible at the time. Both of them fantastic opportunities. Fast forward a few years, I was still volunteering. I was really enjoying it, but I did want to get paid employment. That was still very much, I wouldn't even say at the back of my mind, it was very much at the forefront of my mind. Now, what we know, I should say that we forwarded a few years because in my own personal journey, there were some things that happened in my private life to a family member who was very sick that meant I had to put things on hold for a little bit, but you can do it a lot sooner than I did. But I just had to wait a couple of years because of some personal circumstances. But the time becomes right, you've gained the skills, you want to, you know, use them, transfer them now into paid employment. And you have to think about, okay, now I've gained these skills, this experience, I'm hugely contemporary in my skills, in what I'm doing and who I'm volunteering for. You have to take control to make it happen for you going into work. As with volunteering, so it is with employment. Nothing will happen to any of us. For each and every one of us, we have to take control and make it happen for ourselves. So that's what I did. I thought about where I would like to work. I couldn't really work at Resource. There were very, very few paid employment opportunities there. It's an organisation that works largely with volunteers. But through my networking at Resource, I'd come across this organisation that was Work Avenue, called by a different name at the time. So I just wrote a letter. I wrote an email to the CEO who I'd met once before at a particular function. I dropped him an email explaining who I was, what I did, and how I believed I could be useful to Work Avenue. Again, I did this from the outside. I had no idea what was going on within the organisation, but I made a case for myself by outlining what it was that I felt I could offer Work Avenue. And he replied to my email. Now, he replied to my email because he was part of my network. He knew who I was, so I wasn't a stranger. So he dropped me a very courteous email back and then picked up the phone and chatted to me and said, love what you've said, all very interesting, all very nice, but I'm really sorry, we have no opportunities at the moment. Oh, no harm, I said, not to worry. Thank you very much for considering, you know, maybe in the future. I went about with my life. I carried on doing what I was doing. Literally 3 weeks later, and this is exactly what happened. 3 weeks later, he called me again and said, you're not going to believe this, but a member of my team has just resigned, so I now have headcount. Let's have another conversation. And we did have another conversation. And I started work in November 2013, and nearly 7 years on, here I still am. Now, my role has changed a lot over time in terms of what I was doing. But again, you have to make it happen for yourself. You have to take control. You have to think about always what you're offering. What you take will come, but you must think about everything you do in terms of what you're offering the organization. And that is exactly what I did, and I'm still at Work Avenue. As I was thinking about this afternoon, I thought about my sort of considered reflections as a result of my own personal experience. And this is what they are. Please expect and do not be downhearted if you go up a few blind alleys and kiss a few frogs along the way. You won't necessarily find the right opportunity to volunteer first time round. It may take 2 or 3 iterations. No opportunity you ever have is an opportunity wasted. Take whatever you can from it. You will learn something. But if it's, as Nikki said, you have to be happy. It has to be the right opportunity. If you don't find that first time round, always be courteous, always be polite with people, but another opportunity will come round to you. No experience, as I said, is ever wasted. Whatever you do, you will gain skills from it, you will gain experience from it, you will gain networks from it. You will immerse yourself in a world that you previously hadn't immersed yourself with, and that experience, that opportunity can only enhance your employability, your prospects for work in the future. So don't be negative about anything, always be positive. It's only ever going to be a good thing. My third reflection is that no contacts and people you meet are ever wasted. When we meet people and evaluate opportunities and people we've met from a networking perspective, we tend to judge them according to how useful we think they're going to be to us in the future. And I would say, don't prejudge, because you have no idea which network, which contact, which pathway is going to take you forward step by step into the future. Everyone you meet is going to be useful some way along the way. So to that end, always be courteous, always be polite, and always give. And in giving, I promise you, you will take from that opportunity. And that's really my fourth learning. Never ever think about what you're going to take from something. That will happen. Always focus your attentions on what you're going to give that opportunity. And that way you will learn from it, you will grow from it, you will gain experience. Much of what we gain, we absorb almost without realizing we're absorbing it. And what we absorb, particularly if we're using volunteering as a route back into employment, what we're learning so much is just being in the workplace. It's just interacting with people professionally, being a cog in a wheel that makes a difference somewhere along the line, doing something useful. It will not be an opportunity wasted, but always view it from what you're giving. And my final thought is just be positive about whatever you do. Not everything will work out well. You know, I'm making it sound like it was sunshine all the way along my journey as a volunteer. I had dark days. I had days that were frustrating. I had days when I just needed to get back into work and it wasn't happening quick enough. I had days when I questioned what I was doing and how I was doing it. And I actually think it's okay to have those days. It's okay for that to happen occasionally, but remind yourself that you're gaining so much, you're growing so much, you're giving so much, and in giving, so you will be taking, so the opportunity will move on. And that really is my opportunity. I'm really, truly nothing special, just a person who was looking to work and was able to use volunteering to do that. I did make it happen for myself. I did take control, and that did play a major part. I didn't sit back and wait for it to happen. That wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have happened unless I made it happen. But if I can do that, you can all do that as well. And that is very much what I would recommend. And I thank you all for listening to my own little journey that I took.
Thank you, Emma.
On anything I've said, if anyone's got any questions, do please pop them in the chat. Or ask, and you know, either Nikki, myself, or any of our colleagues will be very, very happy to address that as we go through.
Thank you, Emma. It was very special to hear your journey, and we appreciate you sharing with us. And so now, would you like to share your thoughts on what employers are looking for?
Right, so I'm now switching. I'm no longer the volunteer. I'm no longer the employee, the person who works for Work Avenue. Think of me now as somebody different. I've now become the employer. Now, firstly, we are an employer at Work Avenue, and I take a major role in that. But secondly, also, we work with a lot of employers. And we spend a lot of time talking to employers about what it is that is going to help, what it is that's going to make people stand out and appear attractive when they're put forward for jobs. And actually, the same applies to volunteering itself. Whether someone is volunteering or employing, still offering your services. The only difference between the two is, for one, you offer your services at no cost. There are plenty of benefits to that, but there's no financial exchange. And in the other, employment, you're offering your services, and in exchange for offering your services, you're getting a paycheck. It's a different equilibrium, but actually pretty much the same principles apply. Some of these are what we hear from employers about what's really going to make the difference and what employers look for. And, you know, our first thought when we're talking about this was thinking about what transferable skills make a difference. But actually, it's even more basic than that. And the good news about it being even more basic than that is that it's even more accessible to people, because it's even less about skills and even more about behaviours and attitudes. Above all else, employers look for people, and employers of volunteers as well, look for people who are able to offer and display the right attitudes. What are those right attitudes and behaviours? The first of those is positivity. A person who gives off a hostile or a defensive or a slightly negative, and I'm not saying that person is hostile or defensive or negative, but if the perception they create is of a degree of hostility or negativity or a bit of deflated or just not quite in the zone, that is just not attractive to an employer. Employers like people who are positive. Employers like people who plaster a smile on their face, regardless of what's going on. And believe me, we all have good days and we all have days that are not good. But in the workplace, whether you're working or whether you're volunteering, you're there and you're giving of your time. And when you're giving of your time to that employer, that workplace, plaster on your happy face, your positive face. And you know, it's difficult sometimes, but do it, and it makes a huge difference. I'm sure you've all heard the phrase faking it to making it. Well, this is another classic example of how you can fake it to make it in the workplace. Along with that is a can-do attitude, which is a phrase that we use an awful lot in the workplace. A person who doesn't have an attitude about undertaking tasks that are not necessarily the most exciting tasks in the workplace. Believe me, you know, I'm sure that I'm speaking for myself, but I'm also going to venture that I'm speaking for Nikki here as well, when I say that neither of us are probably any stranger to putting the kettle on at work, making the tea, clearing up, emptying the bins. You know, we all have to do jobs in the workplace that we wouldn't necessarily regard as the sexy jobs, the fun jobs, the jobs that are going to take us forward, but they're jobs nevertheless that have to be done. And that level of can-do attitude, yes, sure, no problem, really takes you an awful long way in an office. An employer's perceptions of you absolutely are their reality of who you are. And if you are perceived to be positive, engaging, willing, happy, great team player, you are all of those things, and you are valuable in the workplace, whether you are volunteering your skills at no cost, your services at no cost, or whether someone is paying for you in a job. So that level of can-do is really important. That brings me on to the next point, which is energy. Again, that level of, you've probably noticed I'm throwing quite a lot into this webinar. It's no accident. The more you can put yourself into something, throw yourself into something, engage, give your best at all times to the situation you're in, the better it is for the workplace. But my goodness me, the better it is for you too. Employers want people, whether they're volunteering or being paid, employers want people who get stuff done. Now, getting stuff done is my favorite technical term. That's all it is. Most jobs in a workplace are all about getting stuff done. And if you can be a contributory factor to getting stuff done, then you are going to be welcome in that workplace, whether you're paid for it or whether you volunteer to do it. If you are able to do those three, positivity, energy, and a can-do attitude, then I guarantee you will start to increase your self-belief in yourself, which is the next thing that is really, really important. If you can believe in yourself and demonstrate that through all of the above, if you have that level of self-belief, then I assure you that will start to permeate to the people around you, and specifically the employer around you as well. So if you're volunteering in a workplace and you've got that level of doing it and wanting to do it and being engaged in doing it and that self-belief in yourself, the employer will be able to visualize you as a person who fits into that workplace. You will make yourself, in the blink of an eye, really, really attractive in that workplace. So that level of self-belief is really important. Don't act as if the workplace owes you anything. No workplace owes you money. If you're volunteering, nothing is owed. You're giving of your services because you want to, and what you take from it. It's all the things that we've talked about up until now. And if you're being paid for it, what you're taking from it is your salary. That's what's really important. Think about your relevance. That's really, really important. Always try and be relevant in your workplace, and think about how you can upskill and make yourself more useful to the workplace as well. So your transferable skills will very much beyond that depend upon what the role is you're looking for, what skills you bring, and what you're looking to do in the future, all of which is possible. Always think about your, I'm just going to wrap up now. Always think about your communication skills. That's really, really important. Nothing will probably in most workplaces ever be as important as your communication skills. I'm going to touch a nerve because it's important to say that your technical skills are also in many contemporary workplaces really important. There's very few workplaces that don't harness the power of technology today. If you feel that's an area that you need to improve, A, taking the right voluntary role can help you do that. B, taking the right training can assist you with that, and we can certainly help you with Work Avenue with the training. And guess what? JVN can help you with the former. That's what they do. Other than that, it's about thinking about you, your opportunity, and what you're aiming for. So that's just a whistle-stop tour of what I think employers are looking for as well. I hope that was helpful too.
That's great. Thank you, Emma. We're now going to hand over to Josh, who's going to say a few words about how JVN can help you.
Hi everyone, I'm just going to try and start sharing my screen, so just bear with me.
And you have done, Josh.
Yeah, all going to come. So hi everyone, my name's Josh and I am the Volunteer Projects and Communications Coordinator at JVN. And I'll just be going through what JVN does and how at JVN we can help. So at JVN, mentioned before, Nikki, we promote volunteering. We connect and support volunteers to enable charities across the Jewish and wider communities to do more. So we work with charities to find out their volunteering needs and opportunities and help them find volunteers for their roles. So on our website, we provide a variety of volunteering opportunities from a range of charities. And at the moment, we've actually categorized our volunteering opportunities and needs into 3 areas. So we can help people find what they are looking for. So at the moment, we've got emergency volunteering, which includes doing pick-up deliveries, prescriptions, food parcels, in the, for people who are vulnerable at the moment, and also online befriending. We also have volunteering from home, so opportunities which can be done from home, which can be social media roles, possibly online tutoring. And also we've got another section, skilled volunteering. So volunteering opportunities which require a bit more of a specific skill set. So we've got some volunteering opportunities which need HR skills and running project skills. So we've got a variety of opportunities on our website at the moment. We are always in constant contact with charities, and new opportunities are always added. So if you do go on our website, be mindful that new opportunities do come up. So it's worth checking a couple of times a week. You may find it difficult choosing a volunteering opportunity when going on our website because there's quite a few to pick from. So please do contact us, send us an email, call us, and we can discuss with you what you're looking for and try and suggest what opportunities we have which would be best for you. Also at JVN, we can make sure that communication doesn't get lost between the volunteer, the person applying, and the charity, which will help speed up the application process for people applying. So if at any point as well, if you haven't heard anything back from the charity when you've applied, please let us know and we will follow that up for you. So it's really important that if you don't hear anything, let us know and we can help. So I've just selected a couple of examples which we have at the moment. These are live opportunities which I thought might be relevant for people to get involved for this session. So we have taken one volunteering opportunity from each of the sections I mentioned before: emergency volunteering, volunteering from home, and skilled volunteering opportunity. So the first one is cooking for the vulnerable. So JW3 is looking for people to help cook for people who are in need. So if you're looking to get involved in that sort of capacity, that's there. There's also internship opportunities with a charity at the moment, and they've got a variety of different types of internships, which cover social media and other areas. So that's definitely something which might be of people's interest, and also something which I mentioned before, which might have a bit more of a skilled volunteering opportunities. Another charity are looking for an HR and policy support, so somebody who's got experience in HR to work with the charity to help with their policies. So these are just a few examples of what we have on our website. We do have more, and if you are interested in volunteering and finding out more, please get in contact with JVN after this session. I hope that was helpful, and yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay, lovely. You're back in the zone. I hope that was helpful, everyone. I would also just like to close by telling you just how what Work Avenue as an organisation can offer as well. We help people earn a living. That's what we do at Work Avenue. And people earn a living in one of two ways. They either start a small business, in other words, they become self-employed, or they get a job. In other words, they become employed. So it's either self-employed on the one hand, employed on the other hand. On the job seeking side, and I'm guessing that most people on this webinar this afternoon are looking for paid employment or looking to volunteer into work. But on the employment side of things, we offer a range of interventions to support people into work. So we'll help with all the standard aspects of employability, such as making sure your CV is contemporary and elegant, thinking about where to look for work, how to look for work, how to reach out and network, how to use the tools available to you to do that, thinking about what transferable skills you have gained and can use in different environments. Crucially, we also have a jobs board where we reach out to employers, and if we can match a person who is suitably skilled with a vacancy, well, of course, that is the best possible outcome of all, because we work with the employer and we work with the job seeker and we put them together, which is very, very good. Now, last year, 2019, we actually placed 110 people in jobs directly from our own jobs board. Hundreds of others were placed in work with our support and guidance, but 110 got jobs from our own jobs boards. And you might think that because of everything that has happened this year, perhaps that's not going to be such a straightforward option for people this year. let me tell you that since lockdown, since March, we have actually placed 23 people in paid work from our own jobs board. Now that is at a time when we think that jobs aren't happening and all the rest of it. Let me tell you, jobs are happening. They may not be quite as fulsome as they were before, but they are happening. There is still opportunity. And what I would say to you, if you are looking for work, is the more you engage with us, the easier it is for us to engage with you. The more you put into a situation, the more you will get out of it as well. So reach out to us, do make contact with us. You know, we would love to be able to help you. To contact us, our phone number is 020 8371 3280. It was on it was on the PowerPoint before, but it's 020 8371 3280. Visit our website, theworkavenue.org.uk. That's theworkavenue.org.uk. And if you do /meeting, you can actually book an appointment with an advisor straight from our website. No need to even pick up the phone and talk to anyone. You can do it straight from our website, very, very straightforwardly. On our website, you will see our range of one-to-one appointments, our workshops, our training courses, our webinars, our jobs board. Everything is available from our website. So
Rich, do I mute or unmute?
if I could ask you to mute if you're just listening, thank you. If you have a question, do let me know in the chat. It would be good to hear from you. But everything is available on our website. And you can email me directly if that's easier. My email address is emma@theworkavenue.org.uk. Again, it was on the PowerPoint before. I think we've covered a huge amount of ground this afternoon, an awful lot of material, an awful lot of food for thought. Would anyone like to have any questions that still remain unanswered or any comments? If so, please pop them in the chat, or else I'd be very happy to unmute you and you can actually ask questions. Either way, we're very, very happy to talk. We have a lot of people here who are very, very happy to help and give you the benefit of their experience and their opinions. I can see that Jilly had her hand up. Jilly, do you want to, let's just see if I can, there, I've unmuted you, so go ahead and ask.
Thank you. How do I find out the size of a charity? I know that you talked about bigger charities and smaller charities. How do you find that out? Is there a central place you can go to get a list of information? Perhaps Nikki can.
Yeah.
So one way of finding out about the charity is actually to go on its website, because
Yes.
it usually tells you about itself, about how many staff it has, how many volunteers it has. You can also go to the Charity Commission and type in the name of the charity and you'll get all the information about it with its last annual accounts, and in all of that, in all those documents talks about the charity. So that's the best way of doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good question. Anthony has asked, do most charities advertise volunteering opportunities on their websites? My guess is that that's fairly patchy, but I'm going to hand over to Nikki. I think that's probably, you have probably more experience in answering that.
Yes, so either they do or they do it via us. And in fact, if you go onto Jewish Care's website and click on voluntary opportunities, it takes you through to our website. But at the moment, Jewish Care don't have any voluntary opportunities because they got so many people during lockdown that they have a whole new group of people. But in a usual situation, they do either advertise or advertise on their own and advertise on ours as well. The reason why people do advertise on our website is that we reach a much wider group of people who don't necessarily know about the particular charity. And you go into ours and you have the whole plethora of different opportunities, and you can search by either the charity you're interested in, the cause, or you can search by the skills that you have. Could people possibly people put themselves on mute?
I've just put the person
Otherwise, unless you want to ask a question. Thanks.
Just for the benefit of everyone, Sam just asked, are there future webinars coming up or ways to access previous webinars?
Let's go.
Whoever's not on mute, could I ask you to mute yourself? Thank you. I think I can see, oh, I don't know. So Work Avenue's webinars are all posted on our website, and my colleague Melanie has very helpfully put the address up. It's theworkavenue.org.uk/webinars. We also have a YouTube channel. So if you put Work Avenue into YouTube, you'll find all our webinars on our YouTube channel. So all our previous webinars are on our website and on our YouTube channel. Nikki, are yours also accessible?
Yes, ours are as well. All the webinars that we've done over time.
Okay, fantastic.
There's one particularly on telephone befriending, for example. If people are interested in befriending somebody over the phone but don't know how to do it, then we've got that up. And we've also got links to other sites as well. So the National Council of Voluntary Organisations has a number of webinars too, and we link to that as well.
As for future webinars from Work Avenue, we've been running weekly webinars since the lockdown, since the start of the lockdown. Well, actually since after Pesach, but pretty much since the lockdown. We're going to take a little break over August, give our vocal cords a chance to recover. But we will be back in September with more webinars. If anyone has any thoughts, we've got a few ideas of our own, but if anyone has any thoughts over things, over areas of interest that they think would be really helpful to them, you've got my email address. It's emma@theworkavenue.org.uk. Just be in touch with me, because I'd love to hear from you. All feedback is welcome, and particularly if you've got advice and thoughts about what, areas that you'd like us to give webinars on, or workshops, or anything else. It would be great to hear from you as well. So do be in touch if there's anything you'd like us to help you with. Any other questions from anyone else? We technically have 2 minutes left, so that's enough time for probably one more quick question. If someone has something that remains unanswered for them at the moment. Someone has asked me if we'll be sending a copy of the slides. We will be reaching out to everyone, and I'm very happy to include the slides. So yes, that's not a problem at all. You've all registered, so we do know who you are in terms of how to reach you. So that's a good thing. So yes, we will be doing that. It's been super being able to talk to you this afternoon. It's been. I don't know, I've shared a little bit of my own personal journey, and you give a little bit of yourself when you do that, but it's been very enjoyable to talk to you all and tell you, and believe me, if that's what I was able to do, I do assure you that it is not beyond the reach of anyone else to do exactly the same thing. I can't tell you for certain it'll happen overnight, but if we take control and are brave enough to allow ourselves to adopt all the right behaviors and attitudes, and put in place a plan and surround ourselves with people who can help us do that, then we are well on the way to making happen whatever it is that we wish to make happen as well. So I thank you all very, very much for your time this afternoon. It's been a super session. It's been great talking to you all, meeting with you all. Thank you very, very much. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. If anyone would like to talk to a Work Avenue advisor or a JVN advisor, be in touch with either or both of us at the organisations you're in. Someone has just raised a hand, Mark Strong. If you want to unmute yourself, Mark, is there something you'd like to ask?
Yeah, hi Emma, hi everybody.
Hi Mark, lovely to see you.
You too. I was just wondering, with regard to self-employment opportunities.
Yes.
What sector did the most recent candidate from the Work Avenue go into on a self-employed basis?
Sorry, what do you mean by the question? What do you mean?
Well,
have we done webinars for people who are looking to be self-employed? No.
No, I mean, presume that there are people at the Work Avenue who
can advise.
Sorry?
Are you talking about, are there people who can advise on a self-employment pathway? In other words, setting up your own enterprise?
No, I was just interested to know which business the last person who went into self-employment went into. What business was set up by someone?
I actually don't know the answer to that. We work with literally hundreds of clients most weeks, certainly most months. And of those, 2/3 of them are looking for employment, and 1/3, on average, are starting up their own enterprise, becoming entrepreneurial. But we work with so many of them that people are starting up enterprises all the time. And the range of fields that people work in is also very, very diverse. I just don't have the specific, but they are very, very diverse.
Any spring to mind?
People have set up their own catering businesses, their own tech businesses, their own consultancy businesses, their own Amazon sales businesses. So many, literally, whenever you think you've reached the extremes of what people will set up a business doing, people surprise you and set up a business doing something else. It's unlimited.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. It's been a real pleasure. And I wish you all a very, very good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much, Emma.
You're very, very welcome. All the best. I'm going to shut the session down. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.